Hey guys, welcome back to another League video, and for today I'm going to be making the follow-up episode to the hardest champion of each role, this time being a focus on the easiest champion of each role. While it's debatable as to what most people consider difficult on the basis of there just being a wide range of attributes you can assign to the skill floor and/or ceiling of a champion, players generally look to be in agreement on which cast members are the easiest to play. The ones with the most straightforward win condition or the simplest mechanics would come to mind. That being said, even then you can argue as to which ones are truly the easiest. Like for example, I for one do not consider Dr. Mundo or Sona to even be in the top 3 of their respective lanes, despite them commonly being viewed as in contention for such a title. But regardless, same basic flow applies to this episode too. I'll be going through each of the 5 roles, beginning in top lane and then working my way down, picking the definitive easiest champion in my personal opinion and then including 2 honorable mentions. After you're done watching, feel free to share your own list if it's different from mine, but without further ado, let's get into it. Opening up in top lane, by far the easiest champion to play up there is going to be Malphite. This should not even remotely be a competition. Malphite's considered by many to be the go-to pick when you're autofilled top lane. First of all, he's got one of the most straightforward kits in the game. Granted, shield offers a bit of lane endurance by simply walking away from your opponent and waiting for a few seconds. His Q is a point-and-click ranged attack that deals a fairly solid amount of damage and applies a slow and equal movement speed buff, which can obviously be used to harass opponents in lane, chase after fleeing enemies, or run away from pursuers. The relatively short cooldown of his Q, coupled by the fact that most top laners can't really punish you for doing it, makes it very easy for Malphite to Q spam over and over again to out-neutral his opponent. All the while, granted, shield offers a modicum of sustain against any attempts that opponent might make to attack you back. By default, Malphite has an advantageous or damn near unlosable matchup against physical damage or auto-attack based champions of any kind, which just so happens to comprise the overwhelming majority of top laners. Tryndamere, Kayle, Aatrox, Pantheon, Renekton, Riven, Jax, Jace, Fiora, what have you, being able to harass them while face tanking anything they throw at them. Anytime they try to attack you, all you need to do is press W and E and you can chunk them for good damage while preventing them from getting much against you. The Tempo Steal afforded by Seismic Shard gives Malphite the ability to trade with you, then run away to regain his shield before repeating the process all over again. For all intents and purposes, despite being a melee himself, Malphite plays like a ranged top laner. If he doesn't want to engage you all in, he doesn't have to, and if he wants to, against most AD champions he can and often does stat check you with only a single item. Very few tanks get the same increased offensive capability by building defense the way Malphite does. Finally, of course, Malphite will always be relevant for your team, not only because typically there's at least one auto-attack based champion on the enemy team, the ADC, but because his trademark ultimate is widely regarded by many to be the single best engage tool to ever exist. In a teamfight, all you have to do is tag 2 or 3 enemy champions with an ultimate and you basically won the fight for your team. The only thing keeping Malphite from being more oppressive than he is because he ironically loses to most other tanks, who primarily excel in magic and percent health damage. Other than that, the reason Malphite's so effective is because of how easy and forgiving but rewarding he is to play. People just don't like to play him because he's boring. Honorable mentions go to Mordekaiser and Garen. Both champions are stat checkers with a lot of base power and endurance built into their kit. They each have a straightforward and consistent combo pattern or win condition, and said win condition must be constantly respected by the enemy team for being able to effectively nullify a single member of the enemy team. Death Realm belongs to the class of abilities that at best completely prevent an opponent from playing the game, and at worst makes said opponent as useless as Mordekaiser is. On the other hand, Demacian Justice makes Garen the most threatening opponent on the enemy team against anyone below half HP. For the most part, neither ability really has any counterplay to them. I want to start off by saying the jungle is a role with an inherently high barrier to entry. Even for the champions I'll be mentioning today, there are still aspects of skill required to play them correctly, as all junglers, no matter what, necessitate a strong sense of macro mechanics and fundamentals. In this specific case, the champions I pick will be based on how easy they are to pilot for someone who already has those aforementioned prerequisites. That is, how good they are at a base level for all things related to the jungle. The most intuitive choice for that would be Amumu. In a similar fashion to Malphite, you can't really mess up with this champion. The most difficult part of him is being good at aiming Qs, but even then you get to throw up to 2 bandage tosses at once, so even if you miss the first one, you can still throw the second one. Amumu's Q might very well be the best ganking ability in the game. It has an absurdly long range, good damage output, a clean 1 second stunning gap closer built into it, and again you can hold 2 of them at once. When you do get in, the rest is simple. Turn on W and mash the E button. That's it. You really can't mess up on this champion even if you try. Some might claim his susceptibility to getting caught out by predator junglers makes him deceptively hard to play in higher ranks compared to a more independent jungler. Even so, his contribution to the team makes up for that. He's got respectable clear speed courtesy of Despair and Tantrum being AoE, He's insanely powerful if your team has 2 or even 1 other AP champion by way of his passive, and Curse of the Sad Mummy can be an even stronger teamfight ultimate than Malphite's by way of a larger cast radius, although without the dash. Obviously, you won't be able to have the same kind of impact as a hyper-carry jungler like Viego or Bel'Veth, but that being said, Amumu's baseline and ease of use is what earns him a spot as the easiest jungler to play. His ganking is straightforward, clearing is straightforward, win condition during a teamfight is straightforward, and not a single team doesn't want to be your frontline with a long-range stun and a massive AoE stun. Once more, people just don't find Amumu all that entertaining to play, but you cannot disregard how practical he is. If you have like an 80% Q accuracy or higher, you basically master the champion. Honorable mentions go to Warwick and Rammus. Both are slightly more nuanced in how you play them, but they're still fundamentally very cut and dry. Warwick's whole gimmick is to endlessly attack a target until they die or he does. The main mechanical requirement of him is to get good at manipulating the blood trails for optimal movement speed, and then of course being good at landing his ultimate. That's about it. Personally, I think Warwick top is harder to play than Warwick jungle, since in top lane you have to be even more proficient at manipulating his W for pressure. Jungle Warwick is just easier to play. Rammus is a bit more situational, but he has some of the best ganking in the game, and once you get in, you just turn on your W and taunt someone, and that's about it. Rammus is a literal demon against high physical damage enemy teams, notably those without any way to cancel his Q. After receiving his new ultimate, he's become considerably more effective in the mid to late game, essentially being a discount Malphite ultimate. Very easy champion to play, but very effective. Mid lane places noticeably higher emphasis on either macro or skill shots than the other lanes on account of most of his champions being skill shot oriented or capable of roaming, but the overall premise is still the same. Anyone with a straightforward win condition who can contribute a consistent amount of pressure by following that win con. As a result, I consider the easiest mid laner to be Annie. Mechanically, Annie is much in the same vein as Mordekaiser, Garen, Amumu and stuff, where outside of maybe one specific thing, in her case making sure the right ability applies a stun, she's not that difficult to play. You can't mess up on her rotation. Whichever one applies the stun, you want to cast that one first, and then afterwards just press the other 2 abilities and there you go, you get a guaranteed rotation. It's even more guaranteed in Annie's case because unlike Garen or Mordekaiser, she's a ranged champion, with one of her abilities being point and click, and the other 2 being near instant activation. You can even use Molten Shield to give you a speed boost to get closer to your target of interest. I get that for inexperienced players, when caught in a bad situation, they might panic and use their ability rotation incorrectly or carelessly. But even in that scenario, if Annie gets engaged on, it doesn't really matter what ability gets the stun, because Annie can press all of her attacks one after another in quick succession, accomplishing the same end result nonetheless. Her W and ultimate having a generous AoE make them, in my opinion, better candidates for Pyromania than Disintegrate for the sheer fact that they can stun multiple targets. Honorable mentions go to Malzahar and Lux. You might be surprised that I didn't call Malzahar the easiest mid laner to play. A lot of that has to do with them not being as consistent as Annie. Knowing how to utilize your E in lane to not only last it correctly, but be able to apply triple space aids on your opponent and rack up serious chip damage actually gives a fair bit of skill expression to his kit. Sure, in the mid to late game he eventually devolves into being a suppression bot, but Malzahar can be deceptively tricky to play effectively. Now regarding Lux, again you might find it strange that an all skill shot champion is in the list of easiest champions to play, but I think in Lux's case, she's a bit less demanding in that respect than a true skill shot mage like Xerath or Vel'Koz. If you can land a light binding on a target, it effectively guarantees the rest of her rotation. And on top of that, she's got passively strong harass and wave clear via Lucent Singularity, long range pick potential, and artillery fire seldom encounter a situation where they're not appreciated. Alrighty, now to discard all care for macro and talk about the ADC role, because we all know ADC mains have non-existent macro knowledge. For this particular section, I'll be focusing specifically on which ADCs are the most mechanically easy to play, and probably to no one's surprise, the gold medal goes to Ashe. Ironically actually, Ashe requires more macro awareness than most other ADCs in the game, owing to Hawkshot being a global vision scouting tool and Enchanted Crystal Arrow explicitly mandating you to pay attention to the map. That aside, Ashe is by far the easiest ADC in the game to play. Her main damaging tool, her W, has the most generous AoE in the game. You basically throw it in the general direction of the enemy team and it will be guaranteed to tag and subsequently slow someone. Ranger's Focus gives you an attack speed boost and bonus damage on your autos after autoing a few times beforehand. Again, no way to really mess up this ability. And finally, to ease the mechanical skill floor of playing a marksman, Frost Shot makes all of Ashe's autos passively slow enemies, making it easy for you to either kite or chase after people. No complicated skill shots or even intensive attack moving required to play this champ. To clarify, intensive attack moving very much does enhance Ashe's effectiveness, potentially even more so than other marksmen, but my point is, it isn't as imperative to perform on her as opposed to say a Kog'Maw. Worst case scenario, you can play Ashe as a W spammer and auto attack whoever's in front of you and there you go, you're in the clear. If you can consistently land her ultimate, you're probably better than 90% of other ADC players in the game. She contributes a steady baseline of pressure and utility for the lowest mechanical demand. Honorable mentions go to Sivir and Misfortune. Sivir does require noticeably more mechanics to play than Ashe in the sense that you actually do have to learn to kite and stuff with her, but thanks to her Q being a humongous penetrating skill shot and her W auto-bouncing to nearby enemies, Sivir is one of the best front-to-back marksmen in the game, namely because she can damage the backline while working on the front line. Spell Shield offers a quick and easy way to deal with any potentially threatening attacks like Morgana Q or Blitzhook, and her ultimate offers some value to the team, so at worst, she can be a walking human Shurelya's battle song practically. MF is also easy to play. Her literal hardest combo is auto and Q, that's it. You just auto a target, then Q and do it again on another target. Granted, lining up her Q so that it always sits an important target behind her is also necessary, but she doesn't really take much effort to play. A good teamfight ultimate can easily be achieved if someone on your team has a hard engage, like what do you know, Malphite, Amumu, or Annie. Now do you see why I picked those champs? They each offer consistent and readily exploitable utility to make it easy for the rest of their team to do their job. Oh, and also, MF is pretty fast for a marksman. It's hard to catch her when her W's up. Okay, we arrived at support. Once again, support can be noticeably more macro-intensive on account of having to know when to engage and when to peel, who to peel for, and whatnot, along with extensive knowledge of vision control. But because that applies to every support, we're gonna focus purely on mechanics. And because of that, the easiest support is 1000% Soraka. The amount of times I see an autofill support first time Pyke or some other champion instead of picking Soraka, by far the easiest enchanter in the game but still insanely effective, is just tilting. Towards the mid to late game, Soraka basically doubles the effective health of her entire team. Astral Fusion and Wish offer so much extra survival and endurance that if you can't kill her first, you basically can't win the fight. She is a decently effective harass and regen tool in the form of her Q, and Equinox is a huge middle finger to any assassin champion who tries to go in. Katarina blinks on your team and uses ultimate, press the honor. Zed tries to deathmark you, put Equinox down on yourself. She's the ultimate front to back support and extremely easy to play. All you have to do is avoid getting engaged on the same way every enchanter has to, land your Q to spam cast W at no cost, and have enough map awareness to press ultimate at the right time for your top laner, and you instantly contribute more to your team's chances of winning than if you were the first time Pyke or LeBlanc support. Please, for the love of God, stop picking carry supports in your autofill. Just play Soraka. It's so free. Like, it's so free. Fuck, why does no one take one for the team in this elo? Anyway, honorable mentions go to Janna and Leona. Once again, you have a very stable enchanter who excels at defensive utility. She can keep her team alive without much mechanical requirement outside of landing her tornado, and she covers multiple bases: defense, crowd control, disengage, and tempo. Very solid support and consistently one of the best performing ones at that. She also happens to be a hard counter to the vast majority of hard engagers like Nautilus, Alistar, and Leona. Speaking of Leona, I didn't want to do all enchanters, so I'll include her. Among the engaged supports, Leona's the simplest to play. She's got a point and click stun, a gap closer doubling as a root which can open up for that point and click stun, and then after you get that point and click stun off, you can press ultimate to stun them for even longer. The only nuance after that is what order you want to do it. You can open up with ultimate first and then engage, or whatever combination after. I find her more easy to play than Alistar or Nautilus mainly because of her Q, but opinions can vary. Alrighty, that concludes my list of the easiest champions of each role. Top lane Malphite, jungle Amumu, mid lane Annie, ADC Ashe, and support Soraka, with their respective honorable mentions. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with my choices, and if you disagree with them, tell me what your top 3 of each role would be. For now though, if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you'd like to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars and join my Discord server, and check out my episode on the 3 hardest champions of each role if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.